Today we received an iPhone 12 Pro Max that has no signal. We notice that the back of the phone becomes hot as well. We go to the dial window and press *06# to populate the IMEI, which does not appear on the screen. What this is telling us is that the issue is related to the baseband and that it has a short circuit. According to the customer, the phone had the front and back screen replaced, and after the repair, the signal went out. So our next step here is to remove the motherboard from the housing and do some additional testing. We check the CXW to identify the test points that are related to the baseband, and then we test with the multimeter for short circuits. We apply alcohol, expose the test points, and check with the multimeter for continuity to ground. After testing, we did not find anything that was irregular. However, when we reached the lower side of the motherboard, we saw an impact coinciding to the same place where the phone is getting hot. Since the test points did not show any errors, we will separate the motherboards. The lower motherboard is where the baseband is located, so we check for shorts on components related to the baseband. Then we find a capacitor that is giving us continuity to ground. We switch the multimeter to diode mode and it reads 0.0035, which is too low. However, before we make any conclusions, we test the same capacitor on a donor motherboard and it isn't giving us continuity to ground. On diode mode, it's giving us a reading of 0.436. This comparison shows us that the line where the capacitor is connected is shorted to ground. This line is connected to the PMU and the transceiver. Now we need to find out the voltage for this line, and we go to the schematics and verify how much voltage the line supports. The name of the line is PP_0VA_LDO03 and it supports 0.8 volts. Before we inject voltage, we have to remove the metal shield that is covering the transceiver. So we use a rotatory tool or a polisher to cut the metal from the top. Then we apply freezer spray on the transceiver and components attached to the shorted line. We inject 0.8 volts to the line and we notice the spray melted on the transceiver first. This tells us that the transceiver is the problem and it needs to be replaced. We remove the rest of the metal shield with the heat gun. Then we apply heat at 380 Celsius and remove the transceiver with the heat gun. Then we test the line one last time on diode mode and it marks 0.507. So that verifies that the short is gone. Now it's time to replace the transceiver. We add solder paste to all the traces and clean with solder wick and alcohol. Then we reinstall the components that went missing. We apply flux down the middle of the traces, we align the transceiver and install it by applying heat at 380 Celsius. Then we clean the traces of the lower and upper board and get it ready to be rebuilt. Then we test the motherboard with the eye socket. Connect the charging port, screen and battery to the phone. Once we verify that the phone turns on, we go to the dial window and verify that the IMEI populates when dialing *06#. To summarize, first we went to the dial window and dialed *06# and there was no IMEI. If there is no IMEI, this means that there is an issue related to the baseband. It can be the baseband itself or a component related to the baseband. Then we found a line that was shorted to ground. This line was connected to the PMU and the transceiver. After injecting voltage to the line, we found that the issue was the transceiver. The phone received an impact and the transceiver was affected and caused a short circuit. Since the line was connected to the PMU became disabled. The PMU is in charge of providing the voltage necessary for the baseband to work. There, the baseband became disabled as well. This is the reason the IMEI was not populating and the phone was getting hot. Then we resoldered the lower motherboard to the upper one. Check with the power supply for shorts and then put the motherboard in the housing to test one last time. We dialed start pound 06 pound and the IMEI populated. Therefore, this repair is completed. If you want to learn how to do this and other micro-soldering repairs, join us for our next 5-day micro-soldering training. We also offer mailing services if you need to get your device repaired by a professional. For more information, please follow the link in the description below.